so thankful to have this opportunity to meet and speak with Lauren Farina O'Brien. Lauren, thank you for joining me today. How are you feeling?
Thank you for having me. Honored, first of all. Thank you. I'm
Of
feeling
course.
good. I'm happy to be here. It's the busy season of the holidays, so it's nice just like, okay, let's have a great conversation.
Oh, well, thank you. You own and run Shakti Power Yoga in Nashville, Tennessee. Are you a Nashville local? Like, did you grow up in Nashville? Where are you from originally?
Yes, I am a local, which is a rare find in Nashville these days. I own the studio with my sister, Kelly, my older sister. I have two older sisters. So the middle sister, Kelly, and I
Very
um,
cool.
have had it together for 12 years. And yeah, we're from Hendersonville, which is like 20 minutes north of Nashville, but we have been in Nashville for the past 25 years.
Nice.
Yes, we're the locals. We've seen it grow. We've seen so much happen, and we're on Music Row in Nashville, which is like a very hot spot for tourism, and it's been fun to watch it grow
Oh
most
my
of
God.
the time.
It looks incredible. Perusing your website, the sign out front, the building, the interior is all so beautiful. Like you both did an amazing job putting it together. Was that both you and your sister that did all the interior work and the whole like layout and design?
Yeah, we got it in 2012, and we had a contractor like it what used to be a music publishing house.
Mm,
So Roy Orbison owned it before us, bought it
no
like in the
way.
eight. So it was built in like the late 1800s. But like the just the charm of the old home with like the wood and like the big doors. It's definitely got its special, I think it really feels like a home. I mean, we even lived there the first year that we opened. So it
I've
is literally my home as well.
Amazing. That would be so fun to live right there. And like you said, with all that music that's happening in Nashville now, that would be so fun. So cool.
It was 12 years ago. At this age,
Understood. Now, so you're not living in your studio anymore, I take it.
I moved out after a year and a half, but it was the most special, fun time of my life. I mean, just turned 30, started a new business, and it was just a really fun, sweet time with my sister.
Amazing. Well, 12 years, that's quite an accomplishment. How easy or difficult was it getting? I mean, personally, because my wife and I have been here in our yoga studio for the last, it'll be 19 years in April, so 18 officially. I think if I had to think back on the most difficult period of that time, the COVID time, like 2020, 2021, 2022. Whoa. How was your experience managing a yoga studio through all that?
It was tough.
Yeah.
We just like I was like, it was the hardest thing for us. And it also was like the best thing for our business. When I
Mm,
look back, I'm like, it really gave us like an opportunity to start over and to like clear out what wasn't working. Like even looking at like what we were spending, who was teaching. I mean, it kind of just like flushed itself out on its own because of what happened.
yeah.
And we got really good at online, and people kept on showing up. And there was definitely moments I'm like, why don't we just close down and move to a farm and get a bunch of Bernedoodles? Like, why don't we just
Yeah.
do that? But
Yes.
then, you keep showing up and like people keep showing up, and you're like, oh yeah, this is why we do this, because we need this, we need each other. So I think it made me have a more appreciation for just the community, the practice. While it was really hard and it was like barely getting by, like each pay period, each rent.
Yes.
I'm
Yes.
grateful for the PPP,
Yes. Yes. That was
so things
solid.
like that really showed up for us and allowed us to go on, and just the people that kept showing up. So while it was hard,
Yeah.
it was an amazing thing at the end of the day.
Very cool. I mean, if that was one of our more challenging elements, what would you say would be your most favorite element of running a studio over the last 12 years?
It's really the people. Like
Yeah.
I'm just in so much awe of like the people that come into Shakti. Like I was more than I've ever imagined. I mean, Kelly and I like, let's open a yoga studio. Let's create a space because we practice in Nashville and like we weren't getting that. And so we opened the studio, and like just the people. It's the best part. And like still
Yeah.
people coming in 12 years later, just know their families or just I don't know. It's just such a
Yeah.
beautiful community, and like the friendships and the care that's happened along the way that become my family, our family.
Nice.
So
Great answer. I would agree with you.
yeah,
What
yeah,
was your
19 years, I'm sure.
right?
Yeah.
What was your introduction to yoga? Who and how and why and when?
Well, I have two older sisters, so we kind of dabbled in like the Hot 26 Bikram way back in the day. Like this is 2000 and like 6, 5. um, dabble that. And then we stopped. We're all in like athletics. We've moved our entire lives. My oldest sister, a professional athlete. We've just worked out, played sports. So yoga came at a point in our life like, oh, we're not playing sports anymore, but
Yeah.
we need to move our body and take care of ourselves. And this yoga became a whole nother like, oh, this is a whole nother step up of like self-care and mental health as well. And definitely at that young age and like being in your early 20s, even younger. But really, what happened is like my sister Kelly moved away to Scottsdale in like 2006 and she got into yoga. I was still here and I went out and visited her. I was like, you're different. And she had started practicing yoga. And it was just like a beautiful thing. I was like, there's something like different about you, like in a great way. I don't know what it was. I mean, just like the ease. I don't know. And she wouldn't probably say that now. She's like, I was a mess. But to me, she
Yeah.
had it together. It's like I came home and I was like training for a half marathon or something. And I found a yoga studio that just opened brand new. And I just started going and I fell in love with it. Um, so I think that
Nice.
was, yeah. And then she moved back and we started practicing and then teacher training. And then, you know, 16 years later, that,
Right?
yeah.
What style would you say that studio that you practice in Nashville was in or under?
It
Vinyasa?
was it was like a Hot 26 in Vinyasa, the
Huh?
teacher had. So yeah, I started out teaching. I feel like the Hot 26 was like a gateway for me. And while I don't do it anymore and haven't done it in a long time, I think the discipline is what I needed at that point, being in like early 20, early 20s, mid 20s.
Yes.
Um, and then I discovered Vinyasa, power yoga. And I was like, oh, this feels more like home.
Got it.
Yeah.
What kind of classes do you offer at your studio now?
Most of their power yoga, we have heated power yoga. We have unheated vinyasa, yin, restorative. We have like sound baths, breath work, workshops. So I think we do a really like well-rounded offering. But I mean, our main classes are heated power flow.
Cool. What are you noticing is the most popular out of all the classes that you offer? Are you finding there's one class or class style that it just seems to be the busiest the most often?
I mean, it is the heated power flow, but I think what's so great about Shakti is like we're not all trained by the same teacher. Like there is some of us are in the same like lineage. I mean, I also lead teacher training, so I'm teaching in a power vinyasa style to a lot of teachers. But there's also like, I'd say like 60 to 70% of our teachers have a different, lineage of vinyasa. And I think it's a, beautiful blend. And I really believe that like people come to Shakti, yes, because they love the classes and the teacher, but I don't know. It's like I think the community just like keeps on bringing them back.
Nice.
And what I'm seeing more and more is that restoratives are really becoming more popular, which is so good to see.
Yeah, I
Um,
agree. I
yeah,
agree.
like the breath work workshops and sound bath, like those are just like people are really wanting that, and I love that.
Was there anything that when someone made a suggestion to you, being a studio owner, obviously you, or maybe it isn't obvious to you listening, but
Right.
one of the things as a studio owner is where people come up to us and say, you should do this, you should do that. It'd be great if you did this or that. And over the years, I've had situations where I kind of thought I was resistant toward, and then we implemented it and it turned out to be one of the best things ever. Has that happened to you at all where you had a little maybe a suggestion that you're resistant to, but then turned a corner and it worked beyond what you expected?
Oh man, I'm like trying to think. I mean, definitely people are like, you should do this. I'm like, well, if you can get 15 people to say that they'll show up at 5 a.m., yes, I will
Yeah,
stay in class. But I'm
right.
not going to do that because if the teacher gets sick, I'm not coming at 5 a.m.
Yeah.
So, I mean, like,
Right.
there's little stuff like that.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm always open to suggestions and like making it better because I don't see everything. And I'm, really relying on our community and our teachers and staff. But I can't really think of anything like off the top of my
Yeah.
head of like, what's something that they said and like it's really working. But I
Understood.
mean, there's always the 5 a.m.'s never going to happen.
No, yeah, five is pushing it. And have you tried it? Have you had a teacher say, I want to do it, and it worked?
No, I've never had a teacher say that. Like it's students, it's like these students. I'm like, no, just
Good
come to
point.
the 6 a.m. 6 a.m. is fine.
Yes. Is that your earliest class? Is 6 o'clock?
Yes.
How many a week do you have?
Monday through Friday. I taught
Oh,
one this morning because I was sub for a teacher that just moved to Thailand. So we're like in this in between, which I mean, I taught 6 a.m.'s my whole first 12 years of teaching. So it's not like it's actually really lovely.
yeah.
But it's not
Yeah.
something I'm like really interested in doing at this point consistently.
Yeah. Yeah. I hear you. I hear you. We used to have really early morning classes too. And that was like, I really like that you mentioned that the whole COVID process was a clearinghouse event, in the sense that we had a similar thing where I was like stretching myself so far and wide over this long window starting really early in the morning with a Mysore Ashtanga class. And then that kind of dissipated. When I came back, I consolidated it into a 90-minute session starting at 8 o'clock versus starting at 5:30. And it feels so good. Like it just makes sense. I was just spreading myself too thin. Um, do you, what kind of class did you teach this morning at 6 a.m.? Is it a hot yoga class?
Yeah, it was a heated power flow. It was sweet,
Cool.
just people that show up. I really just think so much of people that show up that early and like get it done and just want to take that time for themselves and get their practice in. I mean, like, I love it. It's
Very
actually feels so
nice.
good. I'm like, it was like 6:15. I was like, why am I so energized? This is a great time. It was just, when I was like, this is a great time. Why
Right.
not do this more? But then I'm like,
Yeah, you're not
when the
rushing.
alarm clock's at like 4:15, I'm like, well, that's why.
Yeah, exactly right. Oh my gosh, I hear you. Well, that's
Mhm.
cool. What are you noticing in relation to the evolution of yoga culture in your neck of the woods? Are you so it sounds like at least 12, but longer than that, maybe 20 years of kind of being around yoga classes in the Nashville and Tennessee area. My just from my own personal experience of going and visiting Tennessee, I have family there. I've noticed that it is a little more of a Bible Belt feeling than where we are in South Florida. And I'm curious how you navigate the blending of the Eastern culture in with perhaps students and clients, or maybe even yourself. I haven't even asked you what your own philosophy is yet, but has that been an easy thing? Is that something that you need to navigate? How does that feel and look for you?
It's actually been really easy to navigate. I think because we live in Nashville, so we are, like we are in the Bible Belt, but Nashville's a little bit more liberal. We're just so, but it's actually funny because Shakti is right across the street from a church that's been around a very long time. We've had people yell at us that we're like Satan. We've had some things, and we just kind of like laugh it out. And we've even asked the church to like ask if we could use their space because they have a large. They're like, well, we don't really resonate with what y'all do. We're like, okay, good to know how you feel about us. But like
Yeah,
other than that, like, you know, you get some weird random things here and there, but we've actually had a really great experience with like nobody's really bothered us.
cool.
And I think what Shakti does just so well is like being kind and welcoming and loving. So, I mean, if people come in and I mean, if you've had a studio for 19 years, you probably know you've kind of gotten some random, odd interactions over the years that you have to kind of like, you need
Yes.
to go.
Yes. Uh-huh. Correct.
Probably
Yeah.
shouldn't talk about but out loud.
Yeah.
Like
Understood.
there's always some random weird thing that yoga studios attract because people are looking for something, healing or something, and
Great
so
point.
sometimes we can attract some odd things experiences that we really have to just stay grounded and calm and please exit.
Yes. I agree with you, and I think we're being diplomatic and kind, which is the way to go. So I agree
Right.
with you 100%. Yes.
Yes.
That's cool. I wonder, what have you had any famous musicians come in, or why does famous matter? Any musicians come and practice with you that you've turned on to yoga or are traveling through that have said they've practiced elsewhere and really happy to find you?
Yeah, we've definitely had some musicians and it's Nashville, so people are coming in and
Yeah.
out. We are on Music Row, so we actually have like a lot of like songwriters that will come in and just practice. Like, I mean, I'm not really like a name dropper. Like Jules like Jewel used to come a lot when she
Yeah.
was like around Nashville. And then like people have stopped in like here and there, like Brett Eldridge came and took a class. We're just it's just fun. And we always try to just let him practice, like let him be. And then like we have some younger teachers. And so there have been some like newer popular artists that like I have no idea who they are. So one of our teachers like, so and so is in class outside. I was like, who's that? They're like, he's so big. And then I was like, oh great. I'm like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
welcome you like anybody else.
I
But it's
hear you.
cool. Yeah.
That's the last time I was driving through Nashville on the north side of it and south side, I had noticed billboards that were helping to give people either hotline numbers or understanding that there is an opioid crisis in our country. And then when I got to the hotel that I was staying at, I was listening to a local station that was on the TV that was saying that saying that Nashville is one of like the highest places for overdose or opioid overdose. Is that anything that you have witnessed and or noticed that you've played a helpful role in the recovery element?
I haven't like witnessed this stuff that you hear, and I think people come in that have like gotten on the other side of mental health or addiction, and they always share like how impactful coming to Shakti is for them, and like sometimes most some like you don't even know that's happening in their lives, but it's like the after the fact, like they'll come in and share.
Yeah.
um
Yeah.
but yeah, I mean we haven't, I mean you always hear of people and
Yeah.
people in the community, and but
Yeah.
I didn't know that about Tennessee. I'm not,
Right? I
I'm
know.
like not so, I'm sadly like not surprised. I mean, I love Tennessee. I'm from here. It's just like sometimes I'm like, come on, step your game up.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things.
I hear ya. I hear ya. What type of yoga, like if you had to go to a desert island with one style of yoga or
Mm,
a specific element of yoga practice, what would you take with you?
I would probably take Dharma.
Mm,
Uh, and just because it's so well rounded of like how Dharma is, it's like it gets into the meditation, the pranayama, yoga nidra, and also the physical asanas. They're just so complete, and I like I think my heart, while I teach power flow and I love it, and like it's just a lot more marketable, honestly. But I think if I had to go, if I was on a desert island, I'm like, well, I think I would take Dharma. You
awesome.
know?
Did you study with them?
Yeah, my sister and I both did his 500 hour and his 800 hour, and that's how we met. Pam and Andrew are good friends.
I figured I wanted to ask you. Oh, nice.
Yeah, and
Nice.
that was like 2016, 2017, and we went back 2018. So we had a good 3 years with them, and they were just some of the most sweetest times I felt like in my life and my practice. It was sweet. And so we would like go to New York and spend the week in New York, and we'd be in the Dharma Center and be like so calm and like just the vibe of Dharma, just like peaceful. And then all of a sudden, like the New York, like sirens and like the city's just beyond that window, but it wouldn't matter. You just be, in your
Yes.
practice. And I mean, I'm so honored to have learned from Dharma, being 84, 85 now, maybe. I don't know,
Yes.
still
Yeah.
sharing and
He is
kind.
amazing.
The whole
He is
group, the
amazing.
whole team, the whole staff, they're all amazing.
That's so cool. I like the fact that you brought up that that's what you would bring with you, but you also noticed like from a marketing perspective and or in the way that you present yoga to the public and to make sure that you are able to pay your rent and keep the studio productive. and working well for your teachers as well. That would you agree that teaching the more, I don't want to say authentic, but the pranayama, the mantra, the chanting, the way that Dharma brings all that into the yoga, that is a little bit harder to kind of cultivate in these smaller communities. Have you noticed that? Sounds like you kind of alluded to that.
Yeah, I think it is. I think like once you get again, I think people need to get in the door. I'm like, I think sometimes like I know like I said, like the hot 26, that was like just my gateway. And then I got into more and more, as my practice evolved. But I feel like once you can get somebody in the door, get them on their mat, then they become like, get them in their body, get them in their bike, get them there. And then, oh, what's this sound bath? Like, oh, what's this breath work meditate? This teacher's, we did a yoga nidra at the end of class. And there's like, oh, like I like, and then they want to learn more. Like, what's this product? Like, oh, this breathing technique that was really calming. So I think it's like you can kind of like I kind of like weave in techniques from Dharma. Like when I was teaching Dharma,
Yeah.
I taught in the hot room. I would teach like a Dharma in the heat just because like this is what I mean, I had to run my studio. And so
Yes.
I would be like, people were doing Dharma, but it's gonna be in the heat. And they loved it. And they're like, who and like, tell me more about Dharma. So, but I
Very
do
cool.
think you kind of have to like get them in and then, it's like, okay, well, I'm going to add this meditation at the end of class or beginning of class, or we're going to do this breathing technique, which is all part of yoga. I mean, it's all, whatever practice you do, but
Yes.
I just think
Yes.
to get people in like heated power flow really sells people like sweating, athletic. They're like getting a workout in, work in and a workout.
True. I hear
So
that. Yeah, agreed, agreed. That's where I think like when you made mention of the Hot 26 and or Bikram yoga, like what and similarly for me, my first intro into yoga was through Bikram yoga and going to Bikram yoga teacher training out in Los Angeles. And it was amazing and really hard and really difficult. And I don't teach it anymore because I don't, it was like a point in life. And so I'm curious, as your practice is evolving or where it is now, where could you see your practice going from here? Like, I know it's probably pointless to go into the future, and I know we're constantly attempting as yogis and yoginis to like be present and not project too far forward. I know from the business side, we're taught like your 5 year plan, 10 year plan, 20-year vision, scale it, grow it, all that stuff. But I'm curious from like a spiritual and or practice perspective, if you had the time to just devote, do you see any sort of evolution that would occur?
yes, definitely. I mean, I think my sister and I talk about this all the time because, like, for a while, I feel like we went to a training every single year up until COVID. Like, we want to learn. I mean, that's why we did Dharma. That's like, I think we've kind of, I mean, right now, I'm doing something with Janet Stone. And so bringing, like, just like it's virtual and in person. I just love, like, getting more, like, subtle body and, like, bringing in more embodiment movement. Like, this, it's the practice. And I just think of, like, having different perspectives and like just sharing a little bit more. Like there's definitely places I want to grow. I think something that we're working on definitely is like holding space for people who are already like into that, or like I
Yeah.
feel like I was saying, like restorative and yin, and like these people are just like, I want to lead that, I was like, yeah, here's this space. And I think that's what's a gift about being a yoga studio owner. We have space.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like if somebody's passionate and they want to like, they want to lead yoga nidras weekly. Yes, we have the space. Please offer this.
Yes.
I mean,
Amazing.
so I think that's kind of like I'm holding space, offering space, and still I'm kind of, I think I've been teaching for 16 years now. And I'm like, okay. And so I'm just like slowly, like I'm so comfortable in the room, I'm comfortable with people. But yeah, it's like, what do I want to keep offering? You
Yeah.
know?
Great point.
Yeah.
Well, I hear you. That's one thing that I've noticed that we started off kind of vinyasa, hot vinyasa, and we still do all that and still have Ashtanga. And I guess one earlier I'd asked you the question about like something where someone told you to do it and were you resistant? For me, one was that Todd, you should teach gentle yoga. And I had this kind of like, I'll get another teacher for that, or I'll find somebody else to do it. And when COVID happened, my gentle yoga teacher was out, and I thought, all right, I'll do it. I guess I'm doing it. And that is like one of my most favorite classes to teach. I
Mhm.
love just that taking all the pressure off, just like doing this super relaxing, easy yoga. And I just never would have thought I would have really enjoyed and gravitated toward that. And I am getting older, so maybe that's why. But have you had any sort of similar experience with that?
Yes. I mean, again, I've been in the heat for so long. And so I'm like, let's open the window. Let's slow it down.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm going to practice
The
by the
fans on.
window,
Yeah.
crack it open. I mean, these are things that like I've been doing. And I was like, like
Yes.
I don't be cold, but like I'm like, I don't need to be like this hot. And I think we keep it at a really like decent temperature. We're not like overheated, but I feel
Yeah.
like throughout my practice or as evolved, it's like slowing down and like I love it when I get to teach a restorative class because I rarely ever do. But if somebody like I'm like, oh, I really love this. Like I really do like to slow it down and like hold space and just like have stillness and like quiet. It's because it's something like I need to do more of.
Yeah. Yeah.
But when I get an opportunity, I'm like, yeah, I could like see this, becoming more part of it.
Yeah. That's cool. You understand the challenge of managing people. And I'm curious if and anyone listening, say, is a yoga teacher and is looking to get hired to teach in a yoga studio. And for example, I'm coming into Nashville, I don't know anybody, and I really would like to teach. What would be advice that you would give me and the listeners that are like the key things you're hoping and looking for when we're seeking employment through a studio?
Yeah. Well, first off, if you're new, like come practice at the studio that you want to teach at. That is my number one. Like I get emails and like I'm moving to Nashville. I'm like, well, you don't even know who we are. Like you might not even like us. So that is my number one. That is my number one thing. Go to the practice at the studio you want to teach at. That is, I know you're nodding. I'm like, so because like you don't even like you might not vibe with us. Like Shakti might not be your vibe. So or your place that you want to be. So first, number one, that. And then, come, I want to, get to know you. It's like, or what's your experience? Like, how long have you been teaching? What's your like, not just like, I'm moving to Nashville and I love to teach at your studio. Okay, great. Well, and then like, after things have happened, like we kind of have like a form that you fill out and like ask certain questions, availability. But yeah, I mean, just practice where you want to teach to start there and like build that relationship and see if even if you want to be there and enthusiasm. Like we just hired a teacher who's teaching two 6 a.m.s and mostly she got hired because she was so enthusiastic about being up that early and like offering yoga I was like, you're in.
Yeah, that is the best advice I think anyone can give. That was so spot on. Thank you for that.
Yeah. You
Yeah. It's so classic. I hear ya. Yeah,
Mhm.
definitely. Come on in. Come on in. Check us out. Do you even like us? Like you might not. Yeah, good point.
Like, let's
What
talk after you've come to here's our first time respect. Like, come.
what about in relation to I'm a new teacher and only two people showed up. Well, I don't want to say only two people, because I always look at it like, wow, two people showed up. Like it's a lot of work just to get to have two people show up. That's a big deal, right? And then we can always grow. What sort of coaching would you provide for understanding the long haul game of how much work goes into building?
Yeah. Well, I mean, like consistency is key. So that's my number one. Like, keep teaching. Try not to get as sub. Like, keep showing up. That is the number one thing. Like, keep showing up. Invite people to your classes. Ask for some feedback if you're open. If you're working on something, like ask for some specific feedback or but really like you got to grow your class. And so yes, consistently, but I also think like practicing in the studio you teach at, like getting like seeing teachers on their mat. I've heard over the years of like, because I don't even teach that much anymore, like I used to. But people are like, I love it when you're practicing. As like, like they love to see teachers practice. I love to see teachers practice because you know that they're also in it with you. Like they're doing the work. So, right, show up to teach every and then show up on your mat. And then you get to know people too. Like, oh, hey, I teach on Saturdays at 8 a.m. Why don't you come? I think that's just kind of like building relationships. It's like building relationships 101.
Yeah. Great advice. That's awesome, Lauren. I agree 100%.
Yeah.
So then on the, I can tell you're a very people person. You know how to like get a conversation going, make people feel good and welcome and all that sort of stuff. If I'm really shy and I'm having a hard time coming out of my shell, what other kind of coaching can you give for like how to break through that? Because it's tough. Like, don't you think that's something that on some level you were born with? Like ever since you were a kid, I bet you had some zeal for, and maybe you'll correct me. Maybe you're like, no, I was the shyest person in class and I didn't talk. Was there a breakthrough moment or have you always had a certain enthusiasm for relationship development?
I mean, I do think I've had enthusiasm, but I also like I would like drop out of classes in college because it was like oral presentations. Like I like had complete anxiety over stuff like that. And I think for like new, because I lead teacher training, so I have like new teachers coming out, and they're like, I'm like, you've just got to like get it underneath your belt. Like you got to go. I'm like, stand in front of the class, look at people, maybe find one person that you can connect with and like smile. I like just, like, and it's okay if you mess up. Like I sounded like an auctioneer when I first started teaching, like going so fast and like my hour class ended in like 35 minutes. I'm just like, like we've all been in these beginner, there's always a beginning. You kind of have to just you have to like just practice and like you might not be great for a while, but like if you show up with enthusiasm and your love and like you bring this practice to life and people see that, it's fine. Like you'll be great, you know?
Yeah, good
I
point.
know it's hard, but you're saying like if you're shy, but like it just takes practice.
Yeah, good point. Great point.
My heart was racing like my first many class, like many, I can't even, I don't even know, but like heart racing out of my
Oh my gosh, like so sweaty palms, so nervous.
Yeah,
Oh
and that's great
man.
because it's, you know what? That means it's important to you. If you're not like nervous or something about, then like that might not mean that much. But if you have, you're like, oh, this isn't because this is important to you.
Oh
So
man. I hear you. Can I tell you a funny story real quick?
sure.
One of my most embarrassing teaching experiences ever was when I got into Bikram yoga and I went to Bikram yoga teacher training. And to be really honest, I did not want to put on a Speedo. It just was not. I grew up surfing, wearing long shorts. So the Speedo thing was just hard for me. And then when I got around Bikram, he was like, you put Speedo on, Speedo, Speedo. I need to be able to see your legs and body and all that kind of stuff. And so I finally broke down and I got a Speedo and I wore it to class. And I was like, I got over just all that like body image, like embarrassment and all that stuff. And then I started to be like, okay, all right, I'm not so embarrassed anymore. Like I can handle this. So I went to go teach one of my first classes when I got back at the Bikram yoga studio, and all I had was my Speedo. I don't know how this actually happened. And the guy that run the studio was like, dude, just wear your Speedo and teach the class. And I've never felt so like you have that dream where you're like you're going to school and you're naked and you're like going, oh my God, panicking. It was one of those moments and it was a real life experience. It was so I guess character building, but at the same time, uh I get like I can feel my palms sweating even just telling you the story.
Well, it's it's good to know that you can teach yoga in a Speedo if you need to.
Yeah,
But
right.
like throw all your Speedos out so that never happen.
I'm like, do I tell the story? I'm just gonna go there. All right.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
All
I mean
right.
that world too. I mean, like, I didn't do a Bikram training. I did like somebody who's trained under and just the amount of body speedos, you're like, I'm really glad I'm getting out of this.
Yeah. So you're not wearing a bikini when you go in to teach. It's,
Right.
yeah,
Never.
correct. No.
There's a lot of booty shorts going on. You're like, I'm really glad that phase is over.
I know I do feel like that's evolved in the yoga culture. I mean, maybe I'm completely removed, but does it seem like that's shifted?
Well, I mean, I think in our studio, because like people aren't wearing that because like it's a vinyasa, like
Yeah.
legs are.
Yeah.
Just
Yes.
not. But
Yes.
I have, I mean, from a funny story, like there was a man that came in who would wear tiny, tiny shorts and then you'd have to like somehow explain to him how that's not appropriate. And it's like those weird moments, you're like,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yep.
it's not gonna work here.
Yeah. Interesting. I hear you. What
Yeah.
part of yoga culture, if you could change, like, is there anything that you see in our yoga culture? I guess let me back up. In our
Mhm.
American yoga culture, is there anything that if you could wave a magic wand and or have a few conversations with people, do you think we could evolve better toward?
A really good
I know
question.
it's a hard one, and I just kind of threw it out
I
for
mean,
you,
so
but
it's really great. I mean, my first thought was like slow down.
slow down. Yeah.
I think, and I could say this for my own advice, my own, but yeah, just like it's such a, I mean, I'm so grateful that it is a booming industry because I've been able to have a career from that. And, I think bringing in like more of the traditional, like it'd be so great. Like, I mean, and I can do this because it's our own studio, but like just having meditation class, like, just being able to like,
Yeah.
again, and
Yeah.
I do think culture, like we are because of mental health. And I think it is becoming a bit, more popular to do that stuff. But I think just the whole slow down and like just honor, like where it's from, where we've come from, where our teachers, like,
Yeah.
um,
Yes.
yeah, I don't
Yeah, that's
know.
a good answer. That's a great answer. I agree. That's a really good answer. Let's slow down a little bit. But don't you feel like that's a very anti-American ethos work ethic concept in a way?
100%. I'm literally saying this because I'm like, slow down, but look, start your class on time, on time.
Do
And
your social
like
media
get
and
it in,
yeah,
like get it in this 60 or whatever the time the class is. And then like get
yeah,
people have like did it, like you gotta somehow do this, like, then like, well, don't forget to post on your socials. I'm like, oh,
yeah, yeah.
you know,
Good point. It's a good point. It's an interesting paradigm for sure.
it is. But like that's what yoga's helping like create that balance. And so
Yeah,
yeah, while it's this, it's also this. And so
yeah,
how can we how can I, like should say this about myself, how can I do both and not go crazy?
yeah. That's a good point. I heard I like to interview everybody in the whole yoga world, and I recently interviewed somebody around the Ayurveda subject, and then I had a medical professional person come to me and say, don't you think in India they've actually moved away from Ayurveda and kind of adopted more of the Western medical model? And does Ayurveda even work? And do people think it's any good? And so I like went home and I kind of mulled over that because I'm a fan of blending. Like let's take from these
Mhm.
ancient wisdom and also utilize what science is helping us to evolve toward as well and somehow bring the two together. And then I started thinking, well, maybe like they say traditional medicine. And I guess I would clump yoga into this sort of older, ancient, traditional sort of healthcare in a sense. And maybe the model is like kind of the other way. It's like the the medical world is more of the like I hope I'm getting my point across here properly, but you know, the old stuff we know works and the
Yeah.
new stuff we're experimenting with. And we're looking at it like the new stuff is the only way to go. And the old stuff is, well, it's kind of okay. And maybe we should or shouldn't, or it's outdated or whatever. I don't know. I just kind of saw it in a moment where I saw it flipped the other way. And I was like, okay. And then I had someone yesterday say to me, well, maybe there's going to be a little shift where people are going to really even truly start. Like if they moved a little bit away from the Western medical model, they'd see more of the benefit that comes from the mental health benefit, the physical benefit, the cardiovascular, all the benefits that come from exercise, because we could just break the yoga into exercise and or just a spiritual proponent component too. What is your thoughts on how do you view your use of the ancient with the modern?
Well, I love that you're saying like blending because I feel like I'm like, yeah, that's what I do. It's like, I mean, there's some certain things that I'm gonna have Western medicine, like had bronchitis. I needed that
Yeah.
inhaler.
Yes.
There's certain things.
Yeah.
But then there's also like the whole time I was doing like honey and lemon and ginger, like so mixing like, yeah, I think, but like you said, it's like if we can kind of let go of our attachment to like the medicine, like the quick fix of like the coughs or just things, like, oh, what if we tried some like breathing techniques or like some ginger, just other techniques that like the Ayurvedic and the old, or like some yoga poses that could be helpful.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, like people have to like once I think again, I think it's kind of just like the same thing with like physical asana. It's like you got to get them in, you got to have a gateway, you got to get
Correct.
somebody doing, you got to try this thing that works. I mean, I'm so grateful that my mother-in-law is all like holistic health, she's all into that and we've, my husband that way too. So I feel like we have a good blend but yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
you got to get people in some way. So maybe it is like at the yoga studio, somebody takes an intro to Ayurveda, like, oh, I didn't even know that they were like these dosha, like, oh, well, that makes sense. Okay, well, maybe I could try this. Like, oh, I need to sleep more. Maybe I need, or like less fire, less spice, more spice, or just things like that. Oh, like learning those little things about themselves is, can be really beneficial and get them like in the doorway to more, you
I'm
know,
just
more things.
agreed. It's funny when you said that. I didn't want to make joke, but asana is like the gateway drug for Ayurveda meditation, and it's like the entry level.
I mean, you got to get people in
Yeah.
their bodies. Or,
Yeah.
I mean, it's like, it's hard to just like go, I mean, in this culture, like right now in our world, I think we got to get people. I mean, for me, it's like, I got to get in my body. And then once I'm there, breath, now I can like, okay, now I'm more receptive, you know? So
A great answer. I'm so curious. Are you thinking or have you thought about having two yoga studios? Have you ever contemplated? I'm sure you've had some business people come to you and say, Lauren, you should scale and grow and franchise and do all this stuff. And I just want to hear, I'd love to hear your thoughts on managing one really well versus bigger, better, badder, that type of idea.
yeah, I mean, we definitely tried to open up multiple times. We've tried to open up second studios before COVID, and just like property was so expensive. I was like, gee, just like the rent. I'm like, I mean, and then thank goodness we didn't because we would have had to close it with COVID. So I'm just so, and then like after COVID, it just like cleared it up. Like, this place is great. Kelly and I have a really great lifestyle. We have flexibility. If we opened up a second one, the only way I'm opening up a second one if it's like in the mountains or by the beach. It's somewhere out.
Somewhere far, far away. No.
It's not in a 20-mile radius of Nashville. It's not
Yeah.
even five, I'm just
Yeah.
like, it's like a destination, and or it's something like that, or where we've moved to, or I don't know, but it's I'm just like so over that. And I think it's because of like again, just the community at Shakti. I'm just like, these are my people. Like I just love, like I feel good. I don't want to leave them.
Yeah.
Right. Not right now. I don't have to like split my energy over here on this side of town, or I feel like I'm already that way sometimes anyway, with just like home and like my friends. And then also even though a lot of friends are from Shakti, but like some not like just,
Yes. Yeah.
family. So
I really want to hear your take on if you tried to imagine your sister not being your partner in business, would you still have taken on the undertaking that you have alone? Or how important is it having a wing man or wing woman to make the ship fly?
it probably never would have happened, honestly, without Kelly. It just wouldn't. I mean, I could have tried and I might have done well, but I think we're just so in sync. I mean, we're very different, yes, but we both had like a very like clear path of what Shakti is. And I mean, we've learned along the way as well, but like when we started, and it's while we've had some definitely early years, some kind of big tiffs, just like fights, screaming, pretty young, about business and stuff. We also lived together the first year. So, But I mean, I wouldn't do it any other way. And then she would say the same thing. And I think like and I would hope anybody, that owns a studio, or it's so good to have a partner. It really is just have, because owning a business can be lonely. It being like you're on, it's just lonely sometimes because you're like, oh, and I think it's so nice. It's so grateful to have Kelly because we can just call each other, we can talk it out, and then we're like, then if we need to seek other advice or consult, like we will. But just to be able to talk to somebody that just like understands completely what's happening is just a really big gift. And I think that's why we've also been able to just be together for 12 years. And it's
That's
pretty
so cool.
wild.
That's so
Yeah,
cool.
I would recommend it if you could.
Nice.
I mean, do you own yours with your wife, right?
I do. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
I,
like, how could you imagine it any other way?
no, not even like I would now knowing the amount of work that it takes, I wouldn't even want to try to even think about doing it without having somebody that can completely do everything. If I step out, I get sick, I go down, I'm out for a week or two or whatever, she can come in and do everything.
Yeah.
And I could, and vice versa. So I feel like if it was just me, I just think it would be so challenging. So yeah, I agree with you 100%. And I love hearing that you and your sister do it. That's amazing. I just like that makes me want to come visit and practice with you guys because how cool that you guys are doing it as a team like that. That's really special. That's unusual. It's unusual. Would you agree, Lauren? Like how many other family run and owned studios do you know of? Have you come across others? Is this a common thing? Am I out of the loop? What are you noticing?
I really don't see a lot of like family, like that start. I mean, I knew like a couple that was married that no
Mhm.
longer had a studio, but you don't really see like a lot of sisters or brothers or,
Yeah.
I think you see more like partners versus like siblings, owning businesses together.
Yeah.
But yeah, I feel like it's a sweet time because like some people will be with us for years and then they don't know we're sisters. Like, I
No
love that.
way.
But
No
then
way.
people like
Really? Like
look at us.
a couple years ago by and they'll be like, "What? You guys are sisters?" And they
Yeah. We let a teacher, we like Kelly and I lead teacher training together. And it wasn't until the end of teacher training that this person, like, your sisters were like,
Oh my gosh, that's so
I was like,
awesome.
wow, like, where have you been?
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. So
Like,
awesome,
we have
sad
like
at the
so
same time.
similar, yeah, like our mannerisms are I mean, but sometimes your best friends, you can end up having stuff like that. But it
Yeah.
was really fun. And then there's some people like will walk in like, oh, your sisters, like, you know,
No,
it's sweet.
that's
Yeah.
cool. That's cool. So then longer term down the road, how many years do you want to do this? You
I
know
don't
what I
know.
mean?
What
Like,
did you
do you
plan? You're at 19.
I know, I know. I think about it. I'm like originally my goal was 30. Like
Okay.
I'm going for 30 and then I'll reevaluate at that point. See,
30.
but I'm
Okay.
just kidding.
I'm
But
thinking 20 right now. I don't
20,
know.
cool.
I think,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's
Yeah.
amazing. I interviewed a woman named Susie Amendola who's up in Omaha, Nebraska, and she's been doing it 40 years. And I was like, wow, I have to just sit for a second and ponder that. That's amazing. I mean, so anywho, I guess I
Yeah.
just curious if you see yourself being 80 and still playing still having a yoga studio. Where do you how do you envision retirement? What do you see how do you see yourself as a 80-year-old woman and your yoga?
I'm like a coastal grandma by 80.
With
My
a
husband,
rocking chair, in
yeah,
a rocking chair or in a yoga pose, maybe chair pose.
both.
Yeah.
Maybe
All
a
right.
supported warrior in the rock chair, like I don't know.
Yes. Cool. Cool. So
Yeah.
you like the coast then? You're in the middle of the country. Do you because
Well,
you made two references to the
Yeah,
coast.
my husband's from New England, Connecticut,
Okay.
Mystic, Connecticut, which is a coastal, adorable town.
Yeah.
So I imagine our life will lead us up there at
Cool.
some point. But my family's here, and families like, family is what keeps you around and shop.
Yeah.
I'm Shakti's family. But
Understood.
yeah, like I think 80, that's like only 38 years from now. So we'll see.
Isn't that amazing? Because I watched Dharma and I'm like 84, and I'm like, this guy,
Yeah.
just like I'll wake up in the morning, like you said, the alarm will go off at 4. and I'll try to imagine Dharma. Because one time I took a class with him, and he said, you just roll out of bed, get on the floor into a yoga pose. Like do the first thing you do, just like, and so I'll wake up, I'll be like, no, the mind will go, no. And then I'll think, oh, Dharma, he's like, he's 84 doing it. And been doing
Right.
it for how many years now? 50 something, running the studio in New York City.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
1975, I feel is like when Dharma like
It's
started,
been
but he was studying with his guru before that. And
huge inspiration.
yeah, he's
Oh, sweet man. I know. Oh, before we get, thank you so much. I'm glad I remembered. Can you please tell me about your upcoming retreat in Scotland? I want to go to Scotland so bad. Tell me how that came about.
well, Kelly and I lead international retreats every year. We've been doing it since 2014. So we've been like Costa Rica, Thailand, Peru, um, Greece, Italy, Spain, France. We went to France this year. And we've been I think it's like we didn't travel when we were younger. So we're like, we're gonna use this as a way to like travel with others and also like practice and build community. So we're going to Scotland in September of 2025 and actually just got back from there to like check it out. Yeah, and it's like 6 days on this beautiful farm in Scotland, like about an hour outside of Edinburgh. And it's just like we kind of just do retreats how we would like to travel. Like we move and meditate in the morning, and then there's like time for like exploration or rest. Like we might go golfing because it's Scotland, or we do like a bike tour. There's always things you can do if you want to do them. There's always things to rest. We do restorative, like in the evening, we have meals together. It's, like we had 15 people go to France, maybe a little bit more this year. And then like 13 of them are already re-signed up for Scotland. It's like people just love it.
Yeah.
But there's still space. And if that's something, I think yoga retreats are great because you don't have to plan. It's like all you gotta do is like book your flight and you don't have to go plan this adventure and there's with people like great people. I mean, we have made such amazing friends from this, and like people have made lifelong friends through these. And it's just, again, it's just like another sweet time, and it's fun. And so whatever it is, like when we were in Peru, we did a lot of ceremony. We also went to Machu Picchu and like Rainbow Mountain. So wherever it is, like we'll just like tap into that culture and just soak it up.
Oh
Yeah.
man, that sounds so cool.
Yeah.
Congratulations for being able to like keep that organized and do that every year because it is a lot of work.
Yeah, we have used also a company like True Nature Travels out of Asheville. So we used to use them and we still connect with them. And I think if you're like wanting to start a retreat, if you've never done it, like they're a great, they take care of everything for you and like so I think that's how we started, and they're
Nice.
great. So
Nice. Oh, cool. Thank you so much for sharing that.
thank you.
I learned so much, Lauren, getting a chance to just meet, it's our first time we've ever had a chance to sit together and talk. And so I just want to thank you so much for being open to the idea, and that because that means a lot to me. I think that's really cool when I can reach out, and I did have a wonderful introduction via Andrew and Pam. So thank you so much, Andrew and Pam, for helping make the doorway a little easier. But so I really appreciate your openness to like, yeah, I'll have a conversation. That sounds great. Personally, I learn a ton. It's really pleasant to speak with somebody else that is running and owning and operating because it just helps me keep my mojo up and keep me excited for doing what we do. So I'm really grateful for that as well. Is there anything that you would like to speak on or share before we sign off as a closing uh, prayer for the world? No,
Keep
oh,
practicing.
keep practicing. That's perfect. It's nice,
But yeah, but I
short
just
and
want to
sweet.
thank you for
Yeah.
yeah, keep practicing.
Yes, don't give up.
Don't give up. Just,
Give up.
do your
Yes.
best. Just keep practicing,
Yes.
just
Yes.
but whatever
Oh,
it looks like. I think and just thank you for, having me. It's so lovely to have a conversation. It inspires me and just also reminds me why I love it. So thank you. And if you're in Nashville, come see us.
next time I drive up and down between Michigan and Florida through Nashville every year, and I drive somebody, and so I'm going to try next time to somehow get her to agree to stop in Nashville, and then I'm there. So thank
Awesome.
you for the invitation. And I look forward to meeting you in person. And again, thank you, Lauren. This has been a real pleasure. I really appreciate it.
Thanks, Tom.
Thank
Appreciate
you.
you.
Thank you.